Hello and thanks for joining us for the West London Sport QPR podcast. Firstly, apologies for the long wait for a new episode. A combination of factors, including midweek fixtures and press conferences for other clubs on our patch, the Cheltenham Festival, the busy Easter football schedule, and Rangers' truly abysmal form mean we haven't been able to record since we discussed the win over Watford last month. In that time, QPR have quite frankly been awful, phoning in three of the worst results and performance for many years against Blackpool, Birmingham and Wigan, which was then followed by another disgraceful showing against a bang-average Preston side on Good Friday. These results have dragged QPR firmly into the relegation fight, and had it not been for Reading being docked 6 points for more FFP irregularities, then they've been the bottom three, which is a shocking state of affairs when you consider this team was sitting in the top six on Christmas Day. It looked like a similar tale of woe at the Hawthorns on Easter Monday when West Brom raced into a 2-0 lead after 12 minutes before Lyndon Dykes and Chris Martin secured a much-needed and well-deserved draw. I'm joined once again by former QPR captain Kevin Gallen, and making his debut on the pod is a great friend and former colleague of mine, John Crowley. Now, John and I started our journalist together many moons ago at the Irish Post, with John then going on to hold senior editorial roles at the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph, Newsweek and the Wall Street Journal. He can now be found more regularly on the BBC weekend news shows, discussing the front pages of the papers. In addition to all that, John's a long-time season ticket holder in the upper loft. And John, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Right, Kev, it's been pretty dire stuff since we last spoke. But as I mentioned, a much-needed point and arguably the best performance for some time against a West Brom side that hadn't lost at home since October. Did you see enough there to suggest that this could be a turning point, as suggested by Gareth Ainsworth after the game?
Not really, no, because I thought the turning point was Watford at home. I thought, obviously, that was a great 3 points, a much-needed 3 points, and I thought, we would go to Blackpool and put up some sort of performance and try and nick a draw, at least get a point. But then what unfolded was, an absolute shocker of 90 minutes, followed by, quite frankly, the Birmingham game, which I watched on the TV at home. Really poor performance, and it wasn't just the result. Obviously, was poor because I thought Birmingham were a very poor team, but the way we played, just things like Lyndon Dykes taking long throw-ins into the box, and just an all-round poor performance, and then followed up by Wigan away, where they hadn't been paid for a while, and you think they're bottom of the league, and we can, this is a massive opportunity, and we've been here before where we played bottom of the table teams, and thinking, QPR can't do it again, and a lackluster display. And then I went to the game against Preston on Friday, and it was another poor performance. And I watched the game against West Brom. Obviously, the start was horrendous, but we did show a bit of fight. Lyndon Dykes scored a fantastic header, fair play to him, and we got a little bit of luck with the goal. But sometimes you make your luck by when you work a bit harder and you close down a little bit more. And Chris Martin done well to block the goalkeeper's kick, and in the end, we could have nicked it in the end. But I'm not convinced yet. I will be if we can get 3 points against Coventry. If we can get 3 points against Coventry, I really do believe we'll stay up. But it's a big if, because I feel QPR, once they play against a team that sort of tries to outwork them and outstrength them, and West Brom didn't. I thought West Brom were poor on the day. They didn't have to do much to score their goals, but also I didn't really see what they were trying to do, and they were a little bit soft. And QPR sort of dominated the second balls and done well in that aspect of the game. So I'm just wondering what kind of tactics Coventry will play. I'll be a bit worried if Coventry go really physical, because I feel we're a bit wanting when that happens. And the game we did beat against Watford was very similar. We out worked them and we out battled them, and Watford were, they're in turmoil as well. I just feel if we come up against a team like a Coventry that will put it right on us, I think we might struggle. But I'm hoping we can get something out of the game.
Okay. John, you were also at the Preston game on Friday. I know we spoke after, and you were pretty angry, really, from when I did speak to you about what you saw. It was, for me, I just thought it was, Ilias Chair. That's that great chance he should score, really, but they never really looked like threatening Preston whatsoever. And this is a team they beat pretty easy up in well, it's 1-0, but it was a pretty comfortable performance when they did win up there. But what did you see from the game that kind of disappointed you the most?
It felt like Preston were on the pitch, we were playing at home and we were away. We had 2 chances, like Chair on the break, got to hit the target, any level. My boy plays under 12 football and, he's 1-on-1 with the keeper. You've got to test the keeper. You didn't do that. And the other chance that we had was when Chair, again, broke on a break, gave it to Willock, chose not to hit it on his left foot. If he was, more confident, feeling the goals, he would have hit it, took it on his right. Somebody took it off him. And then really, we barely tested the keeper. For me, I mentally gave up, actually, after that. I just looked at Preston. I could feel it from the players, feel it from the crowd. It was like, we're going down. And then lo and behold, typical QPR, we go to West Brom, 2-0 down. I was watching it on my phone going, here we go. And then we wrestle it back, and but for, Duzzle volley, just going a few yards short of their right upright, we could have won it kind of 3-2. And that's what, as someone famous once said, it's the hope that kills you. I agree with Kevin. I don't think it's a new dawn. I think it's going to be very difficult against Coventry and Norwich, 2 massive games at home. They're both pushing for promotion. As Kevin says, that they're going to work a lot harder than West Bromwich Albion. And I do fear for us. And at home, how many games have we lost at home? 10 games at home this season, where, Loftus Road has normally been a fortress. And yeah, I just felt at the Preston game, the crowd kind of gave up. The crowd was silent. They weren't getting behind the team. Typically before, when QPR are against it, we don't do anything for 80 minutes, and then we throw the kitchen sink. We didn't throw a kitchen sink. We didn't throw a tap at them. There was nothing that was there. And me and my boys walked out and we're thinking, that's it, we're going down. Now with West Brom, hope springs eternal again. But it's a massive game. It's a massive game on Saturday, as the last few games have been.
Now, Gareth Haynes, I was up at the Hawthorns on Monday, and Gareth Haynes was a great pains to point out afterwards that, after the game on Friday, actually, he kept him in the dressing room for nearly an hour after. It took ages to come up for his post-match press conference, and he just said that harsh words have been spoken and apologised for why he was so late. And then on Saturday, they were in for recovery, but they had like all day having meetings and discussions. He said after the game, the season's reset here. Now, Kevin, these, there are different ways that managers do things to kind of motivate things. And after a bad performance, you hear about, players being made to run, this kind of thing. I mean, those days don't really happen anymore. But, in a meeting like that, what do you think from a player's point of view? Do you think something like that would have been beneficial? From what he said, it wasn't so much coaches talking to their players, it was the players talking amongst themselves and saying, putting the responsibility on each other. Do those kind of things generally work?
I mean, they can do. It sounds like they had an open air meeting where, players were probably maybe having a go at each other and saying, you haven't pulled your finger out and this, that and the other. And that's all well and good, as long as after the meeting you can all sort of get around and say, well, I've said my bit, don't take it personally. Do you know what I mean? And people go off in groups. I've seen it in football. People go off in groups and little cliques, and they'll like backstab him and he'll backstab him. And then that's when you get your fractures in a team. I mean, we did on Monday, especially after their second goal, we actually got the ball down and played a bit, as in the ball did go up a little bit. It has been, there's no doubt about it. We have gone a lot more direct. But once the ball did go direct and we got a hold of the second ball, we actually dominated a bit of possession, which we haven't done in the previous games, and sort of took our time to put a cross in or put a through ball in or whatever, try and score, where in the previous games it would be we get the ball possession, we'll put it in the box straight away, and that hadn't worked. Now it's all well and good, you know. And to be fair to Lyndon Dykes, I thought had a really good game on Monday, and he done all right on against Preston, because what he's done because we've gone more direct, and I noticed a lot against Preston that Seny Dieng hasn't rolled the ball out as often, and he was from a goal kick, he was kicking it long. But what Lyndon Dykes in the last couple of games is he actually can win a flick on. Now that's good, but now you have to have runners off him. And when you have Willock and Chair sort of as your two number 10s, they don't run off the ball. They want the ball to feet, and they want to play, and they want to do interchanging with each other, which they were excellent at the start of the season. Down that sort of left wing style, they were dominating. They were creating so many chances and 1-2s. So Willock was dropped for the game against West Brom. Obviously, I don't think the way we're playing suits him at the moment, but he went for a 4-4-2. We looked a little bit more solid. I was at the game against Preston and the games previously, we were playing three centre halves, or we want to describe it as 5 at the back. And against Preston, we got overrun because we had too many at the back, and we got overrun in midfield, and they had more legs. And Stefan Johansen, to be fair, it looks like he's coming to the end of his QPR career at the end of this season. He doesn't seem to have that he hasn't got the legs to play in a 2 with field. And what they did was they put Amos in there. So when the ball does go up a little bit longer and it drops, he's got more athleticism and more pace and more energy to get hold of the second ball. But against, I was chatting to a fan in the crowd on Friday. I said, you've got to change, even in the second half when it was 2-0, you've got to take a centre half off and put another midfielder on or something, because we're conceding goals anyway with 5 at the back, and we're conceding goals with 4 at the back. Put an extra man midfield and we might get some goals back. So whether we're playing 4 at the back or 5 at the back, we're still conceding. If we're going to concede, which we have been regularly, we need to start scoring. And to do that, you've got to have an extra man going forward. And regarding the long meetings, it can have a good effect. It can, I mean, they're talking about reset this, but I thought they were resetting, you know, again after the Watford game. So look, talk is cheap. We get a win on against Coventry on Saturday, and then we'll come back next week and I say, yeah, well, that meeting worked. And a win against, and we stay up. And I said, well, that meeting worked, because after the Preston game, as John said, I walked out of that ground thinking we're doomed unless something drastic happens.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, he went to a flat back 4 at the Hawthorns, and Jimmy Dunn playing as a right back, which, you know, I none of us I think would have seen coming. I guess it worked to a degree, but I mean, he's not a natural right back. You know, I think Kenneth Power against Preston, he almost looked like he was told not to push on too much. Because start of the season, you had, like, when Willock had the ball, they'd be on that overlap. So I remember us saying, Kevin, that, you know, Willock never gives him the ball, but he was always there under Mick Beale. The fullbacks were really aggressively pushing up high, and that. And
then I used to say to him that when that happened, and I told you that the reason why Kenneth Powell would do that overlap was because then the right back has a decision to make. Do I go with a runner, which then creates half a yard for Willock to come in, or Chair on their favourite right foot and get a shot in? That's the real. He was basically just doing a decoy run, which creates space for Willock and Chair. But yeah, I agree totally. He didn't bomb on.
And in midfield, it was noticeable that, you know, Preston's 3-man midfield, Brown, Whiteman, and Johnson were, you know, had the run of it really. Johansen did look sort of out of legs, as you say, and they just got outworked in midfield, and that was it. And then when Brown went off and Josh Onomer come on, you know, he's quite a decent player. You know, they got better from him anyways, Preston's midfield, and it just seemed a matter of time till they scored. That was the worrying thing for me. And you know, we knew when Ainsworth was getting the job, there was going to be a change of style. You know, they were going to be more direct. And I mean, I think I said before in here, like, you know, a long ball's not a sin. Sometimes it works, but I mean, John, do you agree with it? That does seem to me a little bit like sometimes the midfield's just being bypassed. just get it forward, and particularly against Birmingham. Which, I mean, for me, the Birmingham game was more upsetting than the Blackpool game, because Birmingham are a terrible team, and that was about as bad as it got for me. You know, if we've gone from the start of the season where we've got Willock and Chair playing lovely football to just lumping it as far forward as we can for Chris Martin to knock it down and hope someone runs onto it. And that's what really annoyed me against the Birmingham game. The West Brom game, it wasn't as direct. I don't think they were against Preston either. They weren't that overtly front to back. But I do wonder if this direct style suits the players they got, or do you just think it's a case of it hasn't worked since the turn of the year, so just try something different?
So there's a couple of things going on. It's kind of getting over the line with the right kind of players. So he obviously fancies Jimmy Dunn. Jimmy Dunn seems to be a person who's going to be in the trenches. He makes mistakes, so he's playing him at right back. My observation from the Preston game, and look, if Senny's going to knock it long, he's going to knock it long. He's under instructions. The thing that got me, that was ripping my hair out, was when it was coming back to the defence, when it was coming back to Jimmy, and to the other defenders, was that they were heading it out, smashing it straight out, rather than just taking it down on their chest, when they had time. And obviously that's confidence, where players are just scared of the ball. It felt our defenders were scared of the ball, and they were just heading it back to the opposition, or on the volley, it's coming in, they're volleying it back, and we were losing the ball. And Mark Warburton, always a cliche when he was speaking, it'd be take care of the ball. We weren't taking care of the ball against Preston. It just felt we were giving it back to them so much. Just on the wing backs, I felt Ethan Laird said, we've spoken about this off camera, but whether he's injured or whatever, didn't seem like he fancied it. Didn't seem like he really fancied it on against the Preston game. And clearly Kenneth, either was under instructions or if he's carrying injury as well, he was not going forward, notwithstanding what Kevin said about creating that space. That's the point of playing three at the back, so your wing backs can push up. Our wing backs hardly pushed up. And Ethan Laird was sensational. He was sensational for us early on in the season, creating loads of chances. I said to you, we would never actually put a cross in. He would always, the Man United way, look for a pullback rather than kind of smashing kind of balls in from the right wing. And he's a young kid and he's up against it. So going back to what you're saying about how do we get over the line in the last 5 games, we've got to look at who are the players that are going to get us over the line. The manager's got to think that. And if he doesn't fancy Ethan Laird and he fancies Jimmy Dunn at right back, kind of so be it. You've got to put your body on the line now. Talking of long ball, if it's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be pretty. And if Chrissy doesn't fit into that, so be it. I thought actually he was our most kind of attacking player, if you can call that, against Preston. He was trying things. It didn't quite work out for him. Interestingly, as Kevin was saying, Steph didn't play, did he? Against West Bromwich Albion, he didn't come on. I really thought he was kind of overrun against Preston. And when you're in the trenches, as said, with 5 games to go, you want your club captain kind of firing. He's not. I don't think he's got the legs in it. He's brilliant where he can play in that quarterback role where he can spray it about. But now, it's not about pretty football. It's about getting results. And, that might stick in the craw for lots of QPR fans. We love playing football on the ground. We love playing it the right way. But we've got to find a way to get it over the line. And if that means we're playing players slightly out of position, if that means Amos, who's not fully fit, but is a lot more mobile, then Stefan comes in and can do a job. You said he was quite, in the first 10 minutes, he wasn't quite up to speed, but found his legs afterwards. So be it. It's not about pretty play anymore. It's about getting results. It's about getting over the line. But I still fear with Coventry. I really feel that they're going to do a job on us. But maybe it's 4 at the back. Maybe that's the way we have to go. And as Kevin says, we get that extra midfielder kind of in play, and that old Kevin Keegan thing. We're going to score more goals than you. We're going to concede, but let's try and score a few more goals.
So, John, see what I feel that Gareth is going to do with Jimmy Dunn at the back and in a back 4. And I had it playing with, when I was at Huddersfield, Lou Macari. He was the manager. Good bloke. Very old-fashioned way of thinking. And I feel this is what Gareth is going to do, is your back 4, don't move from your positions. Jimmy Dunn, you are not overlapping. Kenneth Powell, you're not running past Ilias Chair on the left. Stay in your positions, get the ball, pass it to your wingers or your forward players, and hold your positions. That's what I think the thinking behind that is.
And don't concede at the moment. And that's, with QPR.
John, regarding Stefan Johansen, I feel a little bit sorry for him on the game against Preston because his legs have gone a little bit. But he was playing in the 2 against the 3, and there was an extra man. And I played in midfield before, and when they've got an extra man, and you haven't got that energy and that legs, it's a hard graft.
Yeah. But I mean, again, you have to look at that and go, if you watch Preston play, they play 3 in midfield. Why wasn't that combated before the game started? There's more analysts than NASA down there. Surely, they look at videos and what have you. Is it just a case of they got that wrong? Gareth got that wrong, Kevin, or is it a case of?
But I think the tactic was bypass the midfield, put the ball up there, push on, get the second balls. But like I said, Willock and Chair are not runners. They're not the guys. This is where that style of football with that style of player doesn't really work, because you flick the ball on, they're not runners after it. They want the ball to feet, and that's when they're good players. In that last third, the ball to feet and creating chances, they're not really runners. I mean, they're just not. I mean, we can see that the way they played the last 2 or 3 years. They're not. You don't flick the ball on. And have you ever seen the ball being flicked on and Ilias Chair and Chris Willock out sprinting at the back 4 of the opposition and scoring a goal? Not really. Don't really happen.
And Gareth Ainsworth is trying to find solutions on the hoof, isn't he? So he's got a team which is rock bottom in terms of confidence. He thought 3 at the back, bit of stability with conceding goals. Let's see what those wing backs can do. It didn't work. And now he came up with another plan against West Bromwich Albion, and at least we got it over the line. But you feel that Gareth is desperately trying to find a solution, desperately trying to find the right team. We spoke about Preston. That was probably the strongest team that we could put out. Everyone was looking at that, and the first time in a while we got the full backs back. We got our captain back, and it didn't work. It basically didn't work. So he's gone to a back 4. As Kevin was saying, Jimmy Dunn, he's under orders. It's like, don't concede. If you get the ball, make sure you pass it to a so-called creative player in midfield, and do your job and just be really solid at the back. We were saying against Preston, the fans around us, we needed a banjo, going off the backside or whatever, and it happened with Chris Martin. That was with the luck that we needed to kind of befall us, and thankfully kind of that did, and it really G'd up the team, didn't it? Afterwards, we just needed a little bit of luck. You feel that things, particularly when you're down at the bottom, the old cliche, you make your own luck, but things haven't been going your own way. But Chris Martin, working really hard. Everyone says he hasn't got any legs left in him, but he ran to stop that ball, deflected off him, went in, and maybe we're being a bit greedy. Perhaps we could have even won it. What the question I would ask is, what team would both of you kind of start against Coventry? Would you start against the team that started against West Bromwich Albion, or do you try something different?
I mean that's a really good question, because if you're a manager and you get a good result and you've like got your first point in 4 or 5 games, and there's a bit of a feel-good factor after the game, and then you change it and you lose, then you're going to get absolutely hammered, and you have to be really brave to go and change the team that got the point against West Brom, because if it backfires, now you're getting it from all angles. So I would say he will, if everyone's fit, he'll keep that same formation.
But Coventry are a decent side. They were very worthy winners when QPR played up there in what was Mick Beale's last game as manager in November. They've got a lot of pace about him up front. The boy Gyökeres is a very good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. And I bet you he parks himself in between Jimmy Dunn and Rob Dickey in that left hand, that channel. Yeah, and he'll try and expose the lack of sort of legs in that channel. But he's he's the danger man. He's a good player.
And he doesn't do much else, but he's not a real worker, but he's quick and he knows where the back of the net is. And, they got to work on that. And, they're quite aggressive in the middle of the park. So, I'd like to see, I think someone like Luke Amos needs games. He played against, I think he played against Birmingham. I wouldn't say pulled up any trees. He looked really leggy. I remember, I think he rugby tackled someone, chased him back to try and tackle him. Just his lack of fitness. Hasn't played for months. So, and then was left out again. And you sort of go. Sometimes I think players just need the minutes and the belts. I thought Balogun looked a lot better against West Brom. I think Wigan, he was off the pace, gave away an early penalty, and he got caught in possession against Preston. But I think he just needs minutes. You need to play, and when you get the minutes in your legs, you kind of hope that that will help them. Sam Field again was outstanding against West Brom. He's probably been QPR's best player for me this season. But he's kind of fighting fires in there. He was, where would they be if he wasn't there? He's kind of doing a one-man job. Particularly against Preston, he was literally everywhere trying to, stop the flow. And I thought maybe he should have changed that at half-time. The manager, I think you look at that, you can see what was happening. It was 0-0 at half-time. You've got to tweak things a little bit and go, okay, we're getting out-battled here. But he didn't. They just left it as it was. And, it seemed a bit of a formality, really. And again, this probably seems very critical of Gareth, but that's where managers make their money. You make changes at half-time to solve a problem, and then you can talk about character and leadership and yada, yada as much as you want. But sometimes you've got to it is a bit of like a game of chess. Everything we said about Mick Bill was very, very good at identifying problems during games and moving players or switching things to kind of cover it. And I haven't seen that yet from Gareth Ainsworth. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's very early in his career and at QPR, and the team is struggling. But at some stage, there's a bit more to football than just character and part and passion and whatever. At some stage, you still got to be able to, work out how to, eliminate the strength of an opposition, and not, hopefully. Against Preston, against Coventry, they can look at what Coventry are good at and try and nullify it. But they're going to bring a lot of fans down. It's going to be quite a loud atmosphere there. It's the last Saturday home game of the season at Loftus Road. And it's a game that Rangers have to win. It was pretty toxic, to be honest, at the end of the Preston game from the stands. And you can't really blame the fans. The fans have been pretty patient, but. It wasn't. It must have been. If you ever had that, Kev, you've played at Rangers down in some bad times where, the whole ground turns on the team. That must have been pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. But I don't blame the fans because was it 2 wins in 25? So they want something to cheer about, and when they see recent performances, people get frustrated and. They want to come down to QPR. They pay good money. They want to be entertained, and they want to win games. And the main thing I've said it so many times is just they want to go into work on a Monday morning or see their mates Saturday after a game and say we won, we played this. We all want that. So when it doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen for a long time, people get frustrated. And it was. After the second goal, there was a chant going on, and it was like. Ooh. I've been in some bad situations at QPR in my career, but I've never heard like that chant, like you're not fit to wear the hoops. I thought, wow, that's really turning now. That's turning big time. So they need to turn it around at home. They need to. Sorry, go on, John.
I was going to say, what happens as a player when you hear that? So you're not fit to wear the hoops. You could see the players all turning to the R block where it was coming from. Do you think, screw you, we're trying our best, or you're like, we've let these guys down, or does that depend on individuals, or as a collective, do you need to say, look, they're kind of justified, 2 wins in 25?
Well, if it's the immediate reaction would be probably screw you, we're doing our best. And then you go in and then you get a bollocking off the manager and you're thinking, hold on a minute, that's obviously justified and we need to pull our fingers out. hence the big meeting on the Saturday. But you know, different characters. Everyone's a different character. Some people will think, "I'll show you." But all it takes is like after that is down the far end where the Ellerslie Road and the loft joins, and someone makes a tackle or whatever, and the crowd really. So sometimes it was always when I played, it was, you know, how do we get the crowd on side early doors? Obviously, score goals the best thing, but tackle, a shot on goal, you know, do something good. Sometimes you've got to get the crowd. Sometimes the crowd is a little bit subdued, and you've got to get them behind you, and you have to do one of those things: goal, tackle, shot on goal, run, or do some skill, and then people get behind you. So sometimes the crowd is not right behind you at the start because it's a bit subdued, and you know sometimes the atmosphere is a little bit subdued. So you've got to get them on side as quick as possible, and they're the things what you've got to do. So my advice, and I'm sure they've tried to do that, but it hasn't worked out because I mean they actually started the game off against Birmingham quite well, but within 2-3 minutes they were 1-0 down, and it's like the whole thing just gets deflated.
Yeah. I mean, starting well is obviously important. I mean, I thought they started okay against Preston. Actually, I thought the first 15 minutes were, you know, quite good, and then, you know, Preston had some. I thought the first half was quite an even sort of game, but you'd say Preston probably had the better chances, but it wasn't.
I just think Ian, Preston just dominated possession a little bit more than QPR, and you know, over the recent years that hasn't really happened where QPR at home has actually dominated possession and had control of the game, and we didn't have control of the game at all. But QPR, look, Coventry will come, and this is what their manager will say: don't concede in the first 15-20 minutes, the crowd will turn. Because that's what everyone used to say when we used to go away from home. Look, keep them quiet for 20 minutes, 25, 30 minutes, the crowd will turn because they're a bit hostile, and then you go. So QPR need to get something going in the first 15-20 to get the fans right behind them, which they'll be anyway. The fans will be behind them, but they want something to cheer about.
Yeah, but I mean, I keep doing that. I know the players are trying to do it. They're not trying to concede, but there's so many games where we're just conceding, you know, so early, and it's penalty, it's, you know, 2 goals, and the fact that we wrestled it back. Yeah, actually, well done to the players, and the way they celebrated as well when they got the goals in front of the fans. You know, there was a connection there, but you know, as you know, it's very easy to say, please don't concede in the first 15 minutes, but we've got to stop that because it just puts us on the back foot where we're struggling for goals.
So, John, not only is the crowd would be thinking if you concede early, like we'd all be in the crowd and we'll be thinking, oh, here we go again. That actually would happen on the pitch. It's just like, what, we've conceded already again. So that 100%, you can't be giving teams a head start with early goals constantly. I mean, it's the most obvious statement, but that needs to be eradicated. Absolutely double lively.
Yeah. But okay then. Right, so looking ahead to the Coventry game, Kevin. You're going to be there. How do you see this one going?
I'm going to go. Do you know what? I think it'll be a tough game. I think Coventry are decent. I'm a bit wary of that centre forward. Hopefully, I'll put the mockers on him. Goycrest, I might have pronounced that right. I'm going to go 1-1.
John?
I'm never going to back QPR to lose. I think Jimmy Dunn's going to get an equaliser in the 93rd minute. But looking further ahead for 1-1, I think Coventry, Norwich and Burnley, they are a set of really tough games that we've got for various reasons. Either they've, you know, flying high in the Championship, have got something to play for. I think it's going to go down, I'm afraid, to Stoke and Bristol City, the last 2 games. But I'm 1-1 for me on the weekend.
I'm going to try and be optimistic here. Now, I know Coventry are good. They got some good players. They got something to play for, but it's Coventry City. It's not Man City. Rangers are at home. They have to win. I think there's going to be a big crowd there. I think, in an early start, I'm hoping there's a little bit of confidence, glimmer of confidence from that result at the Hawthorns. Hopefully, we won't have a repeat of what happened after the Watford game, where they just fell apart and got stuffed up there. I'm going to go Rangers to win. I'm going to go 2-0 win. I think it's going to be a nervy 2-0 win. But yeah, I think we're going to win 2-0. I think that's how I see it going. I'm not working Saturday. I'm taking both my kids. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nervy, whatever happens.
Yeah.
It's going to be nervy.
Yeah.
But
the reality is, as I said to someone the other day, the past 25 years of, covering or watching QPR, they've either, bar about 2 or 3 seasons, they've either been trying to go up or trying to stay up. It's never boring, is it? It's very rarely it's just been a season of mid-table nothingness. It's I remember talking to an Ipswich fan on holiday a couple of years ago, and he went, "Oh, QPR," and I was like, "Oh yeah," and we're doing terribly. But yeah, well, you're so lucky though. You've been in the Premier League, you've been to playoff finals. We don't do anything. We're just mid-table in the Championship. We don't do anything. We're never going to go up. We're never going to go down. And then they went down that season. But so it's careful what you wish for. But it's unthinkable to think of QPR getting relegated, particularly in a league where teams are under transfer embargoes and are being docked points, neither of which affect QPR. So, the good thing is it's in their own hands, isn't it? They're not sort of 4 points adrift at the bottom. They've got a tiny bit of breathing space there. There are teams in that area playing against each other, so that's going to be teams dropping points to one another. You just, if they can just build on that on Saturday, and I think they can. I think there was it felt like a bit of a winning draw at West Brom. I think had it been the other way around, they'd have been 2-0 up and drawn 2-2. I think the mood would have been very, very different. So I'm hoping they can build on that and, bring some happiness and relief to Loftus Road, because it's certainly much needed, because it's been pretty thin gruel for, really the last sort of 12 months, really, isn't it? So there we go. Right. Thank you very much for joining us, gents. And thank you for watching and listening. And hopefully we'll see you next week. But I promise it won't be another month till we do another one of these. And hopefully we'll have better news to talk about when we next see you.